But what is your opinion? What is the target? Quarter final or final for the preparation?
Well, I always put it on final, but you've got to make sure you get to the final.
But this is the problem, because quarter final is a very special game. If you lose,
Yeah.
you don't have chance for medal. If you win, you have 2 chances for the medal. So this is in 2 or 3 days for volleyball, for example. If you win quarter final, it's very, very close semi-final, final. You don't go too much down. But if you prepare for the final, maybe quarter final comes some crazy team who is other quick and you can lose. This is some, I think, dilemma.
Well, I think it's, you always prepare mentally that you're going to be in the final. Like, you have to prepare that you're going to win. And your target, it's not like when you taper, that your taper is going to hit that one day. Like, we really don't know if it's going to hit that day or 24 hours later. Yours is just in the window. But the thing is as the coach, you have to address the situation to make sure your athletes don't neglect every competitor. Because in a tournament play, in the games, anything that's big, you just show up and do things that you don't expect them to do. You know, I mean, again, I go back to Duke in basketball. Like, Duke lost to a school out of Pennsylvania this year in the NCAA tournament, Lehigh. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Those kids from Lehigh who can barely dribble and chew gum at the same time beat a nationally ranked team. But it's because Lehigh came to play that day. Duke thought they had an easy game.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is physiologically, we can screw an athlete up if we try to train them the day before, like getting them all in. The coach has to, like, make sure you can trust them on. That's where the coaching tactics come in. More of the mental side of it, not like physically, like doing a drill just to make sure they're ready. Because they're going to be ready, but then they're going to be tired. You know, so they understand it, and it's hard. I mean, it's like, because then you don't want to put too much stress on them, and then they play defensively. But
don't be aggressive.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. So to keep on with the presentation, training follows this what we call dose-response relationship. That means I dose the athlete with fatigue, I get a specific response. If I dose my athlete with 10-mile running sessions for a week, my response is I'm going to be a better aerobically fit athlete. Running 10 miles a day for a month is not going to increase my 1 repetition maximum on the bench press. Dose response. You get specific adaptations for what you put on the athlete. Now, we build on to that picture that we created earlier. The door is open with an athlete and their current level of abilities. We put stress on them. They fatigue. During that fatigue, we put things like nutrition, sleep, stretching, reduction in volume load. They recover, and they acclimate, and now they're better than they were. And then we repeat it again. So it's really a circle. We keep repeating that process over and over again. Now, yeah. Somebody there. Is fatigue the same? No. So we have different levels of fatigue. What we call overreaching, you remember that 3x5 to 5x5, is actually called functional overreaching. Functional overreaching is where the coach plans it, and it's just enough fatigue to where you see slight decrements in abilities, but it's not long lasting. It actually, they come out of it within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, most of the time it's to delay a taper or to hold on to training things, abilities that we gained earlier. Non-functional overreaching is maybe what always occurs in a training camp. You know, you get your athletes for a national team training camp, and guess what? You throw crazy volume on them, you really don't know what they've been doing away from you, and then they're dead. And then for a month, you know, you get reports back, oh, so-and-so's injured, so-and-so dropped out, so-and-so is not feeling well. Well, that's non-functional overreaching because you don't know what they did leading up to it. You threw this crazy high volume on them without knowing how they would respond. plus maybe you didn't take the time to actually put recovery protocols into the training camp because you had so much to fit in 3 or 4 days. That happens a lot. Another side of this is where you put what we consider functional overreaching on them, but they don't do their work. They don't go to bed on time. They don't eat properly. They don't stretch. They don't stay away from stress at the house, with their job, with whatever. So they're doing things outside that you can't control, which causes them to go further down that fatigue paradigm into overtraining. A good story about this, I just had this happen with the female bobsled team this year. So they knew about this months in advance, that our third block, we were going to do eccentric-based training. So we do something called accentuated eccentric training, where they actually go down in a squat for like 5 to 8 seconds, touch the rack with weights way above their 1 rep max. So let's say Alana Myers is my #1 bobsled athlete. Her 1 rep max squat is 175 kilos. Full squat. It's pretty good. Okay, so she has about 200 kilos on the bar. So for 3 sets of 5, she's going slow. She gets to the rack. We have spotters that strip the weights. So then she explodes up with like 80 to 100 kilos. So we're taking eccentric training, which fries the nervous system, and then we're adding explosive movement to it. It's very advanced. Like, I don't expect people to do this unless you're a very strong athlete or a very seasoned athlete. We also do it with mid-thigh pull. They get in this position with more than they can actually turn over, and then they go down very slow to the blocks. They get here, and then they drive up. So we did that for an entire 3-week period. But guess what happened to be on TV during that 3 weeks that I planned this? The Olympic Games. So I preach and preach and preach about athletes need to go to bed on time, and we did this last year. They knew what it took to have to take more naps, to eat more during this block to come out of it. I find out later, when I started seeing bad numbers on the test protocols that we do, that they were staying up until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, watching the Olympic Games, all sitting in the lobby, drinking Coca-Cola, eating candy, watching a big screen TV, the fluorescent lights are on. Everything that we say you should not do before you go to bed, they're doing it. Caffeine, getting hyped up over sports, yelling, artificial light, which tricks your brain and takes you off your circadian rhythm. And then they go lay in bed, they're not sleeping until 3 or 4 in the morning because they can't go into deep sleep. Then they come into practice the next day at 9 o'clock and they're dragging. Okay, so we actually got close to overtraining because my athletes decided it was more important to watch their summer counterparts rather than take care of their own training. So it's very good. I actually am glad that we did that because it taught them a lesson. That, yeah, you can cheer people on, but you may want to actually record it and watch it later. You don't need to stay up all night and do it because you're trying to win an Olympic medal as well. You know, so it's things that we forget. Like I forget that 30-year-olds are still going to make bad decisions. Now, with overtraining, like everything else we've gone over the past 2 days, it has a lot of definitions, but those definitions pretty much resonate the same thing. It's, number one, prolonged excessive training. So it's training that is just too much, too often, without enough rest. It's a maladaptive training. So that means that instead of improving positive adaptations, you're actually having a decrease in abilities because of that excessive stimulus. Your body can no longer tolerate that workload, and therefore you don't have a rebound effect. So all these definitions say the same thing. You're doing too much work, not enough recovery, to the point you're fatigued and you're showing signs of what would be called sometimes in a clinical setting like physical and mental depression. So there's a lot of relationships and correlation between what actually is psychologically diagnosed as depression and athletic overtraining. These are some signs and markers. I'm not going to go through all of these, but they're on your slide, and you can bring these up later. So we have performance measures, hormonal, immune system, psychology, biochemical, physiological. So their heart rate, when they start training, heart rate's going to go up higher, earlier. They've got higher cortisol levels. They're going to be more irritable, eye twitchiness. They're going to need to urinate more frequently. There's a lot of things that we see with overtraining syndrome. But what can we do about it? So what can the coach do? And I have the chess pieces up here because what I say the coach has to do is play chess against the body. All you're doing is when you coach, you're matching wits with the human body. You're trying to outthink the cells of the human specimen. That's all you're doing. It is a chess match. And you win that chess match by thinking long term. Does anybody play chess? I'm horrible. How do you win chess? Do you think in the moment, or are you trying to think what's going to happen 30 moves down the road, right? Same thing with athletic training. Same thing with performance. You're trying to think of what can happen in a year, not what happens now. Same thing. This is the same definition of periodization you had yesterday. Again, talking about cycles and stages, and it's informed decision-making based on science. And science evolves, and so should your thinking regarding periodization. We are always testing and confirming new findings to see how it relates to athletic performance. So that requires the coach to be a constant student. You constantly have to be reading and making sure that what you do still works. Now, another thing a coach can do without needing software, without needing a camera, is look for some pretty easy signals that your athletes are overtraining on the precipice of. The first one up here is communication. Like I said, I'm always asking my athletes how they feel. So when you ask them how you feel, they tell you if they've got heavy legs, they don't feel good, they're sore, they're tired. Look at how they carry themselves. Are they walking like this? You know, and usually, maybe, you know, it's like there's a difference between this and then like this going into practice. Big difference. You know, so are they losing the ability to stay focused in practice? Maybe you have someone who is like your A+ athlete. They always stay on point. They're always looking at you eye, listening. Maybe they just can't stay with it sometimes. That's a sign. So that's where you've got to know your athletes, have a relationship with them, because sometimes they can't tell you how they feel. You just have to observe based on previous experiences and make a good call for them. Now, what can the athlete do? Well, there's one side. They can eat a very nice balanced diet. But instead of giving you all these crazy findings and research about contrast baths, massage, and stim, and ice, and sitting in the sauna, I'm not going to lie to you. Some people would argue with me, and I'm sure they will. I'll probably get slapped on the wrist for this. Most of that stuff does not work. It's a placebo effect. People get in the cold tank. We've seen mixed results, more results that say it doesn't work. You get the same results from active recovery, just going out and moving after you're done with something. Lactate clearance is the same. Perception of feeling is the same. But people that think they get the cold tank and feel better, whatever, it's up here. So what do I tell my athletes to do? Well, right here, they play it safe. I know it sounds cheesy. I know. But it's true. Sleep, be aware, eat good food, and execute. That's what it boils down to. You don't need a PhD to do that. You know? Why is sleep important? Like I said, there's 5 levels of sleep, 5 stages. There's non-REM, which is deep sleep. You know, REM is deep sleep. Like I said, brain activity is high. It's like when you're awake. And non-REM is where brain waves are down. Energy conservation is high. You're not burning as much glucose. We surmise, we believe that non-REM sleep is important for like protein synthesis and getting our body recovered. And then REM sleep is more for recovery of the nerves, where the nerves actually regrow, what we call plasticity, create new networks. And like I said yesterday, REM sleep is important for improving motor skills.
And also, coach, sleeping, some players, just when you say sleep, they will sleep 3 o'clock morning until the evening, you say, I sleep. But the night sleep is different from the, I think the body's, yeah. So a lot of players also don't understand about the sleep, the timing of the sleep.
There's really quickly, I'm always telling you all this technology and stuff. There's this thing we have called Zeo. It's a clock that you can buy. They have apps. I'm sure that maybe David Carr will get into it in Colorado, stealing his thunder or whatever. But there's things you can do, like for your phone. There's because you really don't want to, like in a nap, you don't want to go into REM sleep because you wake up and you're disoriented. You actually can't think as fast. So if you go into deep sleep before practice, you're shot. Because your nervous system's actually going to be slower. So you just want to go to that point in non-REM sleep where it's about 15 minutes. And so there's an app for your phone that you can put the phone on the bed and it'll start predicting your patterns. So it kind of figures out when the bed stops moving. And then when you start moving, that's when typically you're entering into REM, and the phone will automatically, when it senses vibrations on the bed, it'll set an alarm and wake you up. So you don't go to that point of sleep where it's not proper for an athlete. It's kind of cool. I mean, and so that's what we use at the training center, because everybody's got an iPhone. They literally put that on the bed. They go take a nap. 14 to 16 minutes, they're awake, and then they feel refreshed to come to the second practice.
I spoke about artificial light. So I said that athletes they stream in day, like this. It's not good enough for them. They're not always.
It's better to stay with on your circadian rhythm, like a natural sleep pattern and sleeping at nighttime. Or unless you're traveling, then you've got to play tricks with the body.
So light.
Oh yes, without a doubt. Yeah, that's like when people said play video. Like you can have the lights off, and you can be in bed playing a video game. That exposure of that light, the light by itself, without even like the focus and the activity of the brain, is going to keep you awake and aroused when you can't actually enter deep sleep early. So that's like, I hate when my athletes are playing video games at like 11 o'clock at night, because I know that really I can't count their sleep for another 2 hours.
Question here, we ask for the balance diet here. Because I understand this is what I understand is like in the balance diet. But some of our understanding from where I'm coming from, maybe in a very poor family, which tries almost everything. But I don't know what are the consequences
Again, if you're not eating a balanced diet, you can't recover fully, and you're not getting all the necessary vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes to allow you to go for a high intensity the next day. I mean, that's the importance of being able to eat a variety of foods, because this, like rice, only gives you carbohydrates, maybe your B vitamins, a little bit of protein, but not enough, maybe not enough fat. And so it's like, what other things can you add in, if possible? Because you have to go for it somehow. That's where. I think you had a question.
Yeah, the one who was talking is the DeWeese program.
Oh, the Zeo?
Yeah.
Zeo, it's ZEO, and it's really like a clock you can buy, and it's got a headpiece. But then there's also the iPhone app, and I think it's something like Deep Sleep or Sleep Clock. I think is the app for the phone, Sleep Clock. I'll have to find specifically the one I'm talking about. Where at? Right here? This one?
Yes.
Here we go. So which one now?
Yes.
The NREM. So that's the non-REM sleep. So the rapid eye movement. So REM is rapid eye movement, and that's like deep sleep. And like I said, that's where, let's say that you're trying to teach an athlete a new strategy. By default, an athlete, when you teach them a new skill, or they're going through a period where you're trying to reinforce a skill, they, on their own, will have more REM sleep that night, because there's a direct correlation between learning something like a skill or a new thought and the amount of deep sleep required to put that into the brain as a memory. If it's interrupted for some reason, they're going to wake up the next day and have a harder time putting that skill into practice or going back and doing that skill again. So again, that, you know, it's like that as a coach, you've got to make sure that you really hammer home. If you're trying to put a new defensive mechanism in, if you're trying to put, you know, if you're trying to get your athletes to not sweep out in the turn and keep the foot close in the throw, if whatever the case may be, you have to make sure that you preach, get a good night's sleep that night. Or your teaching in that practice was wasted because they're not actually, you know, it's not sticking to their brain, to use lack of a better term.
Is it the same when you study for an exam?
Yeah.
You don't sleep, and you feel that you're not remembering everything. That's when you wake up.
Yes. I did it all the time. Yeah. You're just playing, you're playing tricks. So you have yeah. REM is typically where you start remembering things like long term. And so that's